Welcome. In this special edition of On Point, we will talk to famous climate activist and innovator Sonam Wangchuk. And Sonam Wangchuk had held a long fast. He broke it and now there will be talks with the Ministry of Home Affairs. And the fast had a purpose. First of all, thank you so much, Mr. Wangchuk, for joining us on Point. And secondly, let me begin this conversation by asking you, sir, what is the road ahead?
Thank you very much. Yes, we broke the fast with the government agreeing to resume the talks. The road ahead is we'll wait with lot of hope and faith that the talks which would happen in December, early December, would go with all the goodwill from both sides and sincerity and will be meaningful for both sides. And for now, we just want to have faith and goodwill and expect the best.
Mr. Wangchuk, how can the rights of the people of Ladakh be restored to them politically?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Ladakhi people have gained a lot in the making of the UT, but also lost a lot. So they got their identity back as an entity, after 150 years maybe. It was a kingdom in the Himalayas. It was reduced to a district in a remote state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now it is Ladakh, the Union Territory. However, we got the body of the Union Territory without the soul, that is democracy. So it's very important that we restore that soul, because these are people who had the right, democratic right, to choose their own representatives and send them in an assembly that made some laws and decisions also about Ladakh, though very little, because it was a part of a 80-member assembly. We had only 4. But now we expect better. Ladakh should have its own statehood or assembly where people of Ladakh make those decisions. So that way the rights of the people, the democratic rights, as anyone in this country enjoys, will be restored. The other way to restore is to take democracy to the grassroots. And for indigenous tribal people in our great nation, our constitution has provided that in the 6th schedule of Article 244, where indigenous tribal people are given a council, much like an assembly, a small assembly, where you have elected members who make laws about their own environment, land, customs, and so on. So these are two ways we can restore the democratic rights of the people.
Mr. Wangchuk, how important are the issues of jobs at the local level and land remaining with the Ladakhis at the local level?
So issues of job is become really critical. You cannot imagine, young sons and daughters who their parents raised with much hardship, sent for the best education, are rotting. For the last 6 years, there haven't been a single recruitment at the gazetted levels for officers and so on. So young people are losing their age limits and they are frustrated. It's a very bad mix, a recipe for unrest and more, if you leave youth jobless and without any democratic rights. So in a way you cut their tongues and cut their limbs. That's not a very good thing for a place like Ladakh on the borders. So jobs is a very important thing, and one of the first things to do is to set up a public service commission for Ladakh, which the government had promised recently. We hope they'll honor that. And there have been no recruitments, and Ladakh today figures as the second highest unemployed, educated unemployed state, or UT. and this is not even good for the UT administration. You know, the UT administration is running on the manpower of 2 districts. You know, 2 districts are running a whole UT, and therefore, the UTs are not very functional. Half the budgets that they receive, famously 6,000 crore, goes back to the center. It lapses because I think they do not have the hands to spend them. So, it is mutually destructive, and I am sure in these talks that happen with our leaders, these things will be sorted out. Similarly, you raise the issue of land. Yes, it is very important that land, which is such an integral part of the people, especially in tribal regions. You know, people are a part of the land there, and that remains with them, and this is what 6th schedule guarantees, and 6th schedule is what the government had promised us, various elections and so forth. Hope that these will be honored, and positive talks will happen very soon in December with our leaders. It is with the leaders of Ladakh, the supporting them and facilitating, so that there are talks and dialogues between the government and these bodies.
Mr. Wangchuk, what are the expectations you have from Ministry of Home Affairs or the Centre when the leaders of Ladakh, people, representatives of Ladakh from civil society, meet them in December?
I have great expectations in very good faith. You see, this is happening after people of Ladakh have shown how serious they are. They have walked all the way from Leh to Delhi and then gone on Anshan fast, water fast for 16 days. I wonder if anywhere in the world this has happened, that the last citizens from the last borders of a nation walk to the capital to appeal to the government that they be heard with their genuine issues. And having seen this seriousness on the part of the government, and tomorrow they will see again, tomorrow when the Padyatris who were on Anshan in Delhi will all be going to Leh, and you will see there will be a huge gathering in Leh, where again, like last winter, a third of the entire population will come to historic polo ground to vote with their feet to say that we really want you to pay attention to these issues. When the people of such a sensitive border appeal with such good faith and gravity, I think the nation must pay attention to it.
But there is also another aspect of Ladakh. Ladakh is also very vulnerable in context of climate change, a subject you had been working upon. Have you thought of any help that Ladakh now requires from centre in terms of changing climate and how it's going to be affected in long run in terms of water and availability of other resources?
You are so right. The demands so far that I shared are more socio-political, but I as an environmentalist have been linking it with how to take good care of this fragile ecosystem of the high Himalayas that are so important for our glaciers, and the entire Himalayas and the entire North India depends for water on the Himalayas and its glaciers, many of which are in Ladakh. So, therefore, we have to really give rights or powers or strengthen the local people to take stewardship of their region. It is local cultures that have lived in harmony with the place, with this ecology for thousands of years, and will continue to live for as many years. These people are invested in these places. So, they must be given stewardship and responsibility to take care of the Himalayas, not just in Ladakh, all over Himalayas. Whatever provisions there are in the constitution should be generously applied. If those are not there, then they should be devised. Like in the case of Ladakh, there is 6th schedule, there could be other schedules designed, developed, or invoked. In the case of Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, all these states are very vulnerable. Ladakh definitely is one of the most vulnerable. So, we really need to take good care in good time before it is a disaster for the entire subcontinent, because water and as well ecological problems come downstreams to the rest of the mainlands, and this is just the right time to act.
Mr. Wangchuk, you have spoken on the politics, you have spoken on environment. Now, this question is on the culture, the language, the heritage of a Ladakhi. There is a lot of tourism there, a lot of people go to Ladakh. Your thoughts on how the unique culture of Ladakh, its language can be preserved. Earlier it was subsumed under the larger rubric of J&K. Now it's a separate space politically. How can that be cherished, talked about and preserved?
Yes, before that, why it needs to be preserved and safeguarded. This culture of the Himalayas in Ladakh or elsewhere, of indigenous people, of tribal people, is of immense value to the nation. It shows the way for the entire world, not just for Ladakh or the Himalayas or India. This is a beautiful culture that believes in frugality, in happiness with very little. It takes very little resources to keep people in and their communities in the mountains happy. So, this is a beautiful lifestyle that needs to be learnt by the mainstream people in the mainland, rather than the other way. In the mainland, in the big cities that are westernized, you need so much resources to satisfy the people. I don't know if you would know, like Buddha said, that it's a greater achievement for a human being to eliminate a single desire than to fulfill 1,000 desires. In the big cities of the country, we are chasing the Western model where they are trying to fulfill 1,000 desires, and when they do that, there is the 1,001st, 1,002nd. So, desires never end and you end up making a total mess of the planet. Whereas, in Ladakh and in most indigenous tribal cultures, which are actually the original knowledge system and the traditional wisdom, ancient wisdom of the nation, you believe in the reverse, that you eliminate or minimize your desires rather than the quest for fulfilling them. And this lesson needs to be learned by the entire world now, as we see the whole planet is at the brink of collapse. This can actually be a great gift from India once again to the whole world, starting with our own big cities. So, we have to learn in the big cities from the tribal cultures rather than vice versa. We talk of developing the tribal regions. I would rather like to see tribalizing the developed big cities. Tribal cultures are India's original wisdom. So, we have to find our roots back rather than devastating them also on the path that we have done to ourselves in the big cities and in the West.
Mr. Wangchuk, thank you so much for joining me on my show, and I completely concur with you that it's so difficult to take control of one desire rather than fulfilling 1,000 desires. I think that those are the words of wisdom, and I congratulate you and I wish you best of luck for the talks which are going to take place with the center in context of how, as you said, rights, culture and the issue of jobs can be addressed between the people of Ladakh and the center. So this was our special on point. Don't go away. I'll be back with more because there's one more on point waiting for you.